Wow,
Well,
I'm,
third place. Oh, that's really great.
I'm Russ Milheim from the Direct. It's great to talk to you today about Creature Commandos.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm sorry. I'm just looking behind you at all your stuff.
It's all good. It's all good. You know, Creature Commandos was great. I watched the first 5 episodes.
Oh,
Uh,
great.
and my first question to you is just, obviously with this concept, one of the first things some people might think is like, oh, it's basically the Suicide Squad. So what was the biggest challenge in establishing Creature Commandos, but making sure it didn't just feel like an alternate Suicide Squad?
Well, I think a lot of it is setting. It takes place in Pokolistan, the fictional country of Pokolistan. And so we very much tried to embrace that sort of Eastern European vibe. With also we wanted to be very gothic and very lush and all of that. So just in terms of setting, I think it felt, it feels like its own thing to some extent. And then it's also it's monsters. And so, I think that alone sets it apart, from Suicide Squad. But also, it has a lot of heart. I think you've seen the first 5 episodes, and so you've seen quite a bit of it. There's, um, the drama of it is as important to us as sort of the action of it.
Now, you mentioned that it is monsters. It's a cast of monsters. And I couldn't help but think, King Shark could quite easily fit in that category. Was he ever considered? How close did he get to making the cut?
I mean, I don't know because James wrote it all, so I don't know what he didn't put in. But look, King Shark. I mean, King Shark's my man. I love King Shark. We do have Clayface. Uh,
It's
we
true. You got him in there.
got Clayface, and he's played by Alan Tudyk. So he's played Clayface in two completely different versions of Clayface.
Yeah, they are quite different. They are quite
Yeah,
different.
yeah.
It's a large cast of characters. How difficult, or I'm sorry, which member of the team was the most difficult to really nail down and get exactly how you guys wanted?
You mean in terms of design,
Well, I
or
mean, design, narrative wise, how they came off to a viewer.
well, a couple. GI Robot was hard to nail down. It doesn't seem like it because you look at it now and it just seems like it is what it is. But it was a challenge because he was created in the 40s, so he needed to have like a bit of that vibe, but also he has to be a killing machine, and so that required its own thing. And he also is one of the sweetest characters in the show, so we had to get a sense of that. So that was tough. Sean Gunn, his performance did a lot of the heavy lifting on that, but that was a little tricky. And Nina Mazursky getting her look down was that we spent a lot of time on that, like how should that look? Does she, she do you see bubbles in her tank?
Yeah.
It was just like a lot of that kind of stuff.
Well, one of the big villains of the story is Circe, which is, a massive name in DC Comics. So just simply put, why her? Why did you guys feel that she was a good choice to put in this narrative?
um I'm afraid you'd have to ask James because he was the one that put her there. But she what I love about her is she brings magic, and none of the other characters really do that. I mean, Phosphorus kind of looks a little, you know, I don't know, magic, but he's not, but but that opened the door to that whole side of the superhero world that we didn't have represented anywhere else. So I particularly liked her for that.
Yeah, I know, Gun wrote this, but even on your end, one of the first things when I see Circe on screen, I'm obviously thinking, all right, so what's up with Wonder Woman? So when working on her story and putting it on screen, how much of that balance did you guys consider of like, we know people are going to be asking about Wonder Woman. Do we want to give anything? Do we want to hint anything visually? Do we want, like, what was that balance like?
Yeah, well, we didn't really lean into that very much. I mean, Themyscira and all that was, obviously referenced like in the pilot, but we really didn't try to set anything up in particular with Wonder Woman.
Mhm.
Uh, it's yeah.
I wanted to ask, with Creature Commando season one, is it planned as kind of a story, like one story, or are you guys hoping for maybe more seasons, or you just intend for just one story for now?
Well, the story wraps up at the end of the season, so it's self-contained, in that sense. We definitely want to do a season two,
Hmm.
and it's really everybody wants it. It's we just gotta we need to create a few more James Gunns so that he can get the time to write it. But everybody wants it, and but you'll this season does wrap up completely at the end.
That's with how it all turned out. Now that you've seen like the whole thing and it's all ready to go, what are you most proud of?
I think the the tone, the look of it.
Mhm.
I just feel like I get lost in that world a little bit, and so for me, it's soothing to actually just watch it, the sort of painterly look that we ended up going with.
And then like last question for you. The show is ultra violent, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
How did that differ, your experience with those aspects and really just the show as a whole differ from your time on like Kite Man or Harley Quinn?
Well, it's probably even more violent than Kite Man and Harley Quinn, although they're both very violent. So, I mean, it's not all that different. But what we did do different was we had some unusual death sequences in it, like where Phosphorus, pushes his hands through people, and you see, the imprint of his hand, coming through, and eyeballs popping towards camera. We had some stuff like that we don't typically do on Harley, although we have done, uh, the more I think about it, we've done that too. But yeah, it's sort of uh, really just that, just that we got to play around with some more fun stuff in terms of the kills, particularly with Phosphorus.
Yeah. Well, it was a lot of fun. I look forward to seeing how it all wraps up. Thank you again for talking with me about the show.
Absolutely, it was nice talking to you.